Hello everyone, hope you're all safe and well. Welcome to this program, Read Your Bible Through in a Year. And today we are going to read chapters 16, 17, 18. We are on day 27. And in the New Testament, we will be reading Gospel according to Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 through to 20. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. Don't forget to click on the bell icon so that you will receive your notifications and reminders. Now, let's go straight through to our today's reading, chapter 16, 17, and 18. Let me just organize where we are, 16, 17, and 18. Well, we have read people have Israel left Egypt and they are wandering in the desert as and where God commanded them. God did this so that he was teaching the Israelites they have to learn to trust God wherever they are. Now they are left in the desert to survive, but God helping them all the way. So far we read plagues in Egypt, how God brought the plagues upon Egypt and let the Pharaoh heart harden, and he let the people go. Now they are wandering in the desert, and now they have to learn to trust God. The first thing we read about in chapter 15 is they were complaining about the water. The first necessity in the desert is water, where they came to a place called Marah, and it was bitter. The water was bitter, so they were not able to drink. And God tells Moses to put a wood, and the water turns into sweet water, and that's why it is called. They drink that water, and they settle in a place called Elim, where there were 7 springs and 70 palm trees. That's where they were in chapter 15. Now in 16, the next problem in the desert is the food. But to feed so many million of people in the desert is a very difficult task. In spite of that, people, they had also their cattle and flocks and all their animals, whatever they had with them, they had to feed. In the desert, they had nowhere to go. Now, that's a very difficult situation where Moses had to deal with. Now, as I told you already, people of Israel had to learn to trust in God. Now they were complaining. Now people of Israel were grumbling against Moses. Their thoughts were going back to Egypt. Even before they crossed the Red Sea, they were complaining. They were murmuring, if we were in Egypt, we would have been safe. But now we are caught with Pharaoh again. But now here they are saying, back in Egypt we had meat to eat and had good time. But actually that was not the case. They were actually under the slavery. So now they were complaining, and Lord says to Moses, tomorrow they will eat meat. And God rains manna and quail, and it's a miraculous sign. Why the quail is a miraculous sign is because quails, so many millions of them, to appear in the desert is not possible, because quails are birds who fly in small numbers, not so much so that it can feed millions of people. And also God gives them specific instructions how to eat manna. I want you to concentrate on all those things. Tell your children or share your thoughts about that, especially if you're sitting and reading with your children, so that manna, they cannot store it. Whatever they need for that day, they have to collect it. Some of them, obviously, they try to save it for the next day, and there was maggots on them and they were spoiled. And also there was a specific instruction they can collect only for 6 days, and on the 6th day they have to collect double portion, because on the 7th day it's Sabbath. But still again, some people, they didn't collect for 2 days portion. When they went out on the 7th day, there was no manna. This is a clear sign it was a miraculous food provided by God. So if it was something natural, it could have appeared every single day, but it appeared only for the 6th day, and the 7th day there was no manna. So this is not a natural process, it is a miraculous sign. Well, these people, they might ask why the Israelites, they didn't do that. As I already told you, there were other people who came out of Egypt with them. So when they went to Goshen during Jacob's period, they had their own slaves, they had their own people working for them, and this carried on. So it could be those people, they didn't listen to God. Well, whatever it is, it's all my thoughts and reflections. The reason for me to start this program and read this Bible with you is for you to reflect on all these miracles and signs, what God has done for you, not only nowadays, but God is a God who provides. He leads his people. Now we read the miraculous signs, what God done during their journey from Egypt to Ramesses, the city of Ramesses, to Sinai. Whatever the problems they encountered, God sorted their problems. Now, the manna he gave them as food, and in 17 again they grumble against Moses because they didn't have water, and here they quarrel, and there's a big problem here, and Moses speaks to God, and God asks Moses to tap the rock, and there we go, we get the water. He strikes the water, and the water comes, and he names the place as Massah and Meribah. Massah and Meribah means they quarrel, and also they didn't trust the Lord. They were testing the Lord. So that is the meaning of those two terms, Massah and Meribah, because they quarreled, and also they were testing the Lord, so whether the Lord really exists or not. Then, continuing in chapter 17, we read about the first time about Joshua. Joshua appears for the first time, and Moses orders Joshua to choose men to fight the Amalekites. And there's a battle in which Moses, as he raises his hands, the Israelites were winning. As his hand goes down, the Israelites lost. So I want you to read through this. I don't want to give a long explanation. These are all very interesting stories. How the first battle they win, and Joshua appears in this place. In chapter 18, we read about Jethro visiting Moses. Now, from here, Moses sent off his wife and two sons. We already read about Moses' first son called, what was his name, is Gershom, whoever it is, before they left to Egypt. You remember when they left Egypt, him, Aaron, his wife, and his son. But now he has a second son called Eliezer, and these two, his sons and his wife, he sends them to his father-in-law Jethro. And Jethro comes to visit Moses when he's meet his father. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, together with Moses' sons, came to him in the desert where he has camped near the mountain of God. They are camped near the mountain of the God, not yet to the mountain of the God, somewhere near it. And Jethro comes to meet Moses. Now here we read about the first time the organizational structure, probably, where Moses used lots of people come to Moses' tent, and they were waiting in front of his tent because Moses used to deal with their problems, disputes, etc., kind of judge kind of thing. Jethro observes this and says, you shouldn't be doing this, because you should be a mediator between God and man, and not between two men. So he said you should appoint you should choose able men and appoint them over hundreds, 50s, etc. That will solve your problem. So they can these leaders will solve the problems themselves, but come to you only if they have serious problem, and Moses listens to them. So that is what we read in chapter 16, 17, and 18 in the book of Exodus. Coming to chapter 18, verses 1 through to 20. 18, there's at the times it starts with 18, the disciples come to Jesus and asked, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? So he brings a child among them, and he says, unless you change and become like a little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. He teaches them the humility of of being humble. Only those will go to heaven. And also he talks about the parable of a lost sheep, how if a person has 100 sheep and one of them is lost, he goes in search of them. And also we continue to hear about Jesus speak a brother who sins against you. Now, again, in chapter 18, we hear lots of teachings of Jesus. Matthew's Gospel, you will hear lots of teachings of Jesus. So I want you to read again who sinned against you, etc. So that's where we are on day 27. And tomorrow we will be going to the 28th day, and we have more wonders God works among the people of Israel. So until I see you tomorrow, stay blessed, have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. God bless and goodbye.